The massive starship hung in the darkness beyond Earth's moon like a predator waiting to strike. Inside the vessel, three beings studied holographic displays showing a blue and green world spinning slowly in the void. These were not ordinary travelers. They were the Void Stalkers, the most feared hunting team in the Galactic Federation. Commander Thexval stood 9 feet tall with 4 arms that ended in razor-sharp claws. His insect-like head turned toward the planet data scrolling past his compound eyes. He had hunted on 500 worlds and killed creatures that could crush tanks with their bare hands. This new world called Earth looked promising. The planet shows excellent biodiversity, said Crixoth from across the command chamber. Unlike his commander, Crixoth had no fixed form. His body shifted like liquid mercury, sometimes taking the shape of creatures he had killed on other worlds. Today, he appeared as a scaled beast with too many teeth. Large predators roam the land and sea. This hunt will bring us great honor. The third member of their team slithered closer on her serpentine body. Venomized Zelen possessed sensors that could track prey across continents and toxins that could kill anything that breathed. Her forked tongue tasted the recycled air of the ship, and she smiled with needle-sharp fangs. The primitive inhabitants call themselves humans, she hissed softly. Bipedal mammals with no natural weapons, they use crude tools and live in large groups, completely harmless. Commander Thexval clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The Galactic Hunting Federation had sent them here based on reports from long-range scouts. Earth contained apex predators that had never faced hunters from beyond the stars. The challenge would be magnificent. The ship's sensors displayed images of the planet's dangerous creatures, massive bears that could tear through metal, great cats that could leap impossible distances, sharks longer than their smaller hunting vessels, flying predators with talons like spears. Each species had evolved to kill in its own domain. "We will take trophies from every continent," declared Thexval. "The other hunter clans will envy our success when we return." Their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere using stealth technology that bent light around the hull. No primitive detection system could spot their arrival. They chose a landing site in the mountains of a peninsula the humans called Korea. The terrain provided excellent hunting grounds with forests full of prey and rocky peaks perfect for establishing a base camp. The Void Stalkers emerged from their vessel as it settled among tall pine trees. Each hunter carried weapons that could slice through starship armor and personal shields that could stop projectiles moving at hypersonic speeds. They had hunted the galaxy's most dangerous creatures and never lost a team member. Crixoth immediately shifted his form to match the local environment, taking the shape of a large predatory cat native to these mountains. His transformation was perfect down to the scent glands and breathing patterns. No Earth creature would detect the deception until it was too late. Venomized Zelen tested the air with her enhanced senses. She could smell every living thing within, 10 kilometers. Bears, deer, smaller mammals, birds, and something else. The bipedal creatures that built the strange geometric structures in the distance. Their scent was weak and held no traces of the chemical markers that indicated dangerous predators. "The humans pose no threat," she reported to her commander. "They lack proper claws, fangs, or natural armor. Their scent carries none of the pheromones that mark true hunters. We can ignore them completely." Commander Thexval agreed with her assessment. In all his years of hunting across the galaxy, he had learned to identify dangerous species by their physical adaptations and behavior patterns. Creatures with sharp teeth and claws were threats. Creatures with poison or natural armor required caution. Creatures with pack-hunting instincts could be problematic if they coordinated their attacks. The humans showed none of these warning signs. They were soft-bodied creatures that relied entirely on artificial tools. When separated from their technology, they became helpless prey animals. The commander had encountered similar species on dozens of worlds. They always ran or hid when faced with superior predators. The three hunters established their base camp in a cave system high in the mountains. Their advanced equipment created an invisible barrier around the entrance, and their sensors could detect any approaching life form from great distances. From this position, they could strike anywhere on the planet and return safely. As night fell over the Korean mountains, the Void Stalkers reviewed their hunting strategy. They would begin with the largest land predators and work their way through every dangerous species on the continent. Each kill would be recorded and preserved as proof of their superior skills. Far below in the valleys, small lights marked human settlements. The hunters paid no attention to these dots of illumination. The bipedal creatures inside those buildings were irrelevant to their mission. They had come to hunt apex predators, not harvest prey animals. What the alien hunters did not understand was that evolution on Earth followed different rules than on other worlds. The galaxy's most successful predators relied on physical advantages like strength, speed, claws, or poison. Earth's apex predator had evolved something far more dangerous than any natural weapon. It had evolved the ability to think, plan, and coordinate with others of its kind. In the human settlements below, people went about their evening routines unaware that death had come from the stars. Children did homework while their parents prepared meals. Night shift workers headed to their jobs. Security cameras recorded empty streets, and motion sensors detected only small animals moving through the darkness. But change was coming to this quiet corner of Earth. The Void Stalkers had made their greatest mistake. They had assumed that the absence of claws and fangs meant the absence of danger. They would soon learn that humanity's true weapons were not visible on the outside. The hunt was about to begin, but not in the way the alien predators expected. The first week of hunting brought the Void Stalkers more success than they had expected. Commander Thexval stood over the smoking remains of a massive brown bear, his energy weapon still glowing from the kill shot. The creature had been impressive. By local standards, standing nearly 8 feet tall with claws that could tear through tree bark. It had died in seconds. Crixoth materialized beside his commander, shifting from his camouflaged form back to his natural liquid state. He had spent the morning hunting wolves in the lower valleys. The pack animals had shown more intelligence than most prey species, working together to surround what they thought was an injured deer. Their coordination had been admirable, but ultimately useless against superior technology. 12 kills today, Crixoth reported with satisfaction. The local predators provide adequate sport, though they fall too easily to our weapons. Perhaps we should limit ourselves to blade combat for the next hunt. Venom Eye Zelen emerged from a mountain stream, water dripping from her scales. She had been testing her skills against the fish predators in the deeper pools. The results had been disappointing. Even the largest trout offered no real challenge to a hunter who had faced the razor sharks of Proxima 7. "The aquatic species lack proper aggression," she hissed. "They flee rather than fight when confronted with superior force. We may need to travel to the larger bodies of water for worthier prey." The three hunters had established a routine over their first days on Earth. They would emerge from their cave base at dawn, select target species from their scanning equipment, and hunt until sunset. Each kill was recorded with full sensor data, and trophy samples were preserved in stasis chambers. Their ship's computers calculated that they could harvest every dangerous species on the planet within 6 months. What they failed to notice were the changes happening in the valleys below their mountain base. Park Ranger Deho had worked these mountains for 15 years. He knew every trail, every stream, and every animal den in his territory. He could tell when the seasons were changing by the way birds flew, and when storms were coming by, how the wind moved through the trees. Most importantly, he could sense when something was wrong. The wrongness had started 3 days ago. Animals that should have been preparing for winter were instead fleeing toward lower elevations. Deer ran through his ranger station at full speed, their eyes wide with terror. Bears abandoned dens they had used for generations. Even the insects seemed agitated, forming strange, swirling patterns instead of their normal organized movements. Daho found the first kill site on his morning patrol. The brown bear had been massive, probably the largest predator in this section of mountains. It lay in a clearing with a perfectly round hole burned through its chest. The wound was unlike anything he had ever seen. No human weapon could create such precise damage, and no natural predator could have killed something that size without leaving claw marks or bite wounds. The forest around the dead bear was completely silent. No birds sang, no insects buzzed, no small animals rustled through the underbrush. The absence of sound created an unnatural stillness that made the hair on Daho's neck stand upright. He had experienced this kind of silence only once before, during a severe earthquake that had driven every living creature to seek shelter. Something was hunting in his mountains. Something that could kill apex predators without leaving traditional evidence. Something that terrified every animal for kilometers around. Daho reported his findings to the local authorities, but his description sounded impossible to people who had never seen the evidence firsthand. A perfectly circular wound, with burn marks but no projectile or explosive residue. A kill site with no tracks except those of the victim. Complete silence in a forest that should have been alive with wildlife. 50 kilometers away, marine biologist Mira was making her own disturbing discoveries. She had been conducting research off the Korean coast when local fishermen began reporting strange deaths among marine predators. Great white sharks were washing ashore with wounds that no known sea creature could inflict. The first shark she examined showed the same impossible injury pattern that Daho had found in the mountains. A precise hole burned completely through the body, with tissue damage that suggested exposure to extreme heat. The wound was too clean for explosives and too circular for any known weapon. More troubling was the fact that the shark showed no signs of defensive behavior. It had not fought against whatever killed it. Over the next few days, more marine predators appeared dead along the coastline. Killer whales, barracuda, large octopi, and even a young sperm whale. Each creature showed the same mysterious burn wounds and complete lack of struggle injuries. Whatever was killing them attacked too quickly for the victims to react. Mira began monitoring underwater hydrophones that recorded ocean sounds for her research. The audio files from the past week showed disturbing patterns. Periods of normal, marine life sounds would suddenly cut to complete silence, lasting for several minutes before gradually returning to normal. The silent periods always coincided with the times when dead predators were later found. In the rural mountain village, where young Taman lived with his grandfather, the boy was developing his own theory about the strange events. He had been helping tend their small herd of goats when he witnessed something that no adult would believe. A large black bear had wandered into their pasture, probably seeking easy prey among the livestock. Taman had seen bears before and knew to stay perfectly still until the animal moved on. But this bear never got the chance to leave. It simply vanished in the middle of taking a step forward. One moment the bear was there, solid and real and dangerous. The next moment, there was only empty air and a faint shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The shimmer lasted for perhaps 2 seconds before disappearing completely. The only evidence that anything had happened was a strange smell in the air, sharp and metallic like the scent after lightning strikes. Taman told his grandfather about the disappearing bear, but the old man assumed the boy had been daydreaming or mistaken a shadow for an animal. Children often imagine things that were not there, but Taman knew what he had seen, and he began watching the mountains more carefully. The alien hunters continued their successful campaign against Earth's predators, unaware that their actions were being observed and analyzed by the planet's true apex species. They had dismissed humans as harmless creatures that posed no threat to superior beings. This assessment was based on physical observation and standard galactic hunting protocols that had served them well on hundreds of worlds. But Earth was different from other worlds in ways they could not yet understand. Here, the apex predator did not announce itself with fangs and claws. It watched silently from a distance, gathering information and forming plans. It did not charge blindly into battle against superior force. Instead, it studied its enemy's behavior and looked for weaknesses to exploit. The humans were learning, and learning was something the alien hunters had never encountered in prey species before. Soon, their perfect hunting record would face its first real test against creatures that fought with their minds instead of their bodies. Daiho walked along the mountain trail at first light, his ranger uniform damp with morning dew. 3 weeks had passed since the strange killings began in his territory. Every day brought new evidence that something deadly was hunting in these mountains, something that could kill apex predators without leaving normal tracks or wounds. The forest was wrong this morning. Birds that should have been singing remained silent. Small animals that usually rustled through the underbrush were nowhere to be seen. Even the insects seemed to have vanished, leaving an unnatural quiet that made his skin crawl. He stopped walking. When he reached the small clearing where he often saw deer drinking from a mountain stream, a wounded animal lay in the center of the open space, breathing heavily and making soft sounds of distress. Its front leg was twisted at an impossible angle, clearly broken and useless. Daiho had rescued hundreds of injured animals during his 15 years as a park ranger. His first instinct was to approach the deer and provide whatever help he could. But something about this scene felt completely wrong. The animal's breathing was too steady for something in real pain. Its eyes showed no fear despite being unable to run away. Most importantly, the injury looked fake. The broken leg was positioned too perfectly, as if someone had deliberately hurt the animal and placed it here as bait. Daiho had seen enough predator behavior to recognize a trap when he encountered one. He crouched behind a large boulder and waited, controlling his breathing and staying perfectly still. His years in these mountains had taught him patience. Whatever was using the deer as bait would eventually reveal itself if he remained calm and observant. Minutes passed without any movement except the deer's fake struggles. Then the air above the wounded animal began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement in summer. The shimmer grew stronger until it revealed something that should not have existed on Earth. A creature appeared in the clearing, roughly, the size of a mountain cat, but wrong in every detail. Its body seemed to flow like liquid metal while maintaining solid form. Multiple rows of sharp teeth filled a mouth that opened far too wide. Eyes that burned with alien intelligence scanned the forest, searching for prey that should have been attracted by the wounded deer. Crixoth had grown impatient waiting for Earth predators to investigate his bait. This technique had worked successfully on dozens of worlds, but the creatures here seemed unusually cautious. Perhaps they possessed better survival instincts than he had expected from such a primitive planet. His enhanced senses detected movement among the rocks, where a bipedal heat signature crouched behind cover. One of the harmless human creatures had wandered into his hunting area. The shapeshifter felt no concern about being observed by such a weak species. The alien began walking toward Daiho's position, allowing his camouflage to fade as he approached. He wanted the human to see his true form clearly before the kill. Fear reactions were always more satisfying when prey understood exactly how helpless they were against superior predators. Daiho watched the impossible creature approach and felt his training take over. 15 years of dealing with dangerous. Wildlife had taught him that panic led to death while calm thinking led to survival. The thing walking toward him was clearly not from Earth, but it moved like a predator, following predictable behavior patterns. As the alien drew closer, Daeho noticed important details about its approach. The creature walked with complete confidence, but showed no caution about the terrain around it. It expected no resistance from its intended victim. Most importantly, it was moving directly toward ground that Daeho knew was extremely dangerous. The boulder where he hid sat at the edge of a steep slope covered with loose rocks and fallen trees. A landslide several years ago had created this unstable surface, and he had marked it as hazardous terrain on all his patrol maps. The alien predator was about to step onto ground that could not support its weight. When Crixoth reached a distance of 5 meters, Daeho acted with the precision of someone who had spent decades working in dangerous environments. Instead of running or freezing with terror as the alien expected, he grabbed a large stone and threw it with perfect accuracy at a key support point in the loose rock pile. The impact triggered exactly the reaction he had hoped for. The entire slope collapsed in a thunderous avalanche of stones, dirt, and broken trees. Crixoth had no time to react before tons of debris buried him completely. His shape-shifting abilities were useless against the crushing weight of the rockslide. Daeho waited until the dust settled before approaching the edge of the collapse zone. Nothing moved beneath the pile of stones and earth. If the alien creature had survived the avalanche, it was trapped too deeply to escape without help. He had used the mountain itself as a weapon against an enemy that had expected no resistance. 50 kilometers away, marine biologist Mira was having her own encounter with alien hunters beneath the waters off the Korean coast. She had been conducting deep water research when her equipment detected something large moving in the depths below her diving position. Venom Eye Zelen rose from the ocean floor like a nightmare made real. Her serpentine body stretched over 10 meters in length, covered with scales that shifted color to match the surrounding water. Rows of needle-sharp fangs filled her mouth, and her eyes glowed with predatory intelligence that had evolved on distant worlds. The alien hunter expected to easily kill the slow, soft human swimming alone in open water. Zelen's venom could stop the heart of any organic creature within seconds, and her enhanced senses made her the perfect underwater predator. The human would die without ever understanding what had attacked her. But Mira possessed advantages that the serpentine killer could not anticipate. 20 years of marine research had taught her to read water currents, temperature layers, and underwater terrain better than most fish that lived here permanently. Her diving equipment included emergency devices designed to handle the most dangerous situations the ocean could produce. When Venom Eye Zelen struck with lightning speed, Mira used her knowledge of local currents to twist away from the attack. She triggered her emergency ascent system, rocketing toward the surface faster than the alien predator could follow. At the same time, she activated underwater flares designed to scare away aggressive sharks. The bright lights and chemical reactions stunned Zelen long enough for Mira to reach her research boat floating above. Instead of fleeing to safety, she used the boat's sonar system to track the alien's movements beneath the water. When the serpentine hunter tried to escape, Mira dropped depth charges in carefully calculated positions. The underwater explosions created pressure waves that damaged Zelen's sensitive hearing organs and forced her to retreat toward deeper water. The alien hunter had come expecting easy prey, and instead found herself outmaneuvered by a human who understood the ocean environment better than any off-world visitor could. Meanwhile, in the rural mountain village where young Taman lived with his grandfather, the boy was proving that human age meant nothing when it came to fighting alien invaders. His simple network of mirrors and string had detected unusual movement patterns around the family farm for several days. Taman had spent weeks studying every report of alien encounters that appeared on social media and news broadcasts. He learned from each successful human defense and adapted the techniques to his own situation. When Commander Thexval finally decided to investigate human settlements, the boy was ready. The alien commander discovered that he was not facing a helpless child, but a young human who had prepared for exactly this type of encounter. Taman had anticipated that whatever was killing mountain predators would eventually come looking for easier prey in populated areas. Using lessons learned from Daeho's rockslide trap and Mira's underwater tactics, Taman had prepared his own version of environmental warfare. When Thexval approached the farm buildings, he walked directly into a network of carefully placed obstacles that channeled his movement toward a predetermined kill zone. The boy had dug a pit trap enhanced with sharp stakes and covered it with branches and leaves that looked like solid ground. When the alien commander fell into the trap, Taman used a simple catapult made from farm equipment to drop heavy stones onto his enemy. The primitive weapons were crude compared to alien technology, but they worked perfectly against an opponent who had not expected any resistance. For the first time in their hunting careers, the Void Stalkers faced prey that fought back with intelligence instead of simply running or hiding. The humans were not stronger or faster than the alien predators, but they were proving far more dangerous than any creature the hunters had encountered in their travels across the galaxy. The war between species had begun, and the aliens were learning that Earth's dominant life form was far more deadly than they had ever imagined possible. The video spread across the internet faster than any viral content in human history. Daeho had uploaded cell phone footage of his encounter with the shape-shifting alien to every social media platform he could access. Within 6 hours, the clip had been viewed by over 50 million people worldwide. Similar reports began flooding in from across Korea and neighboring countries. Mira posted underwater footage of her battle with the serpentine creature. Taman shared security camera recordings, showing strange shimmers moving around his family's farm. Dozens of other people added their own evidence of impossible creatures hunting in their territories. What made the alien hunters truly afraid was not the individual reports, but the pattern they revealed. The humans were not reacting as separate, frightened animals. They were communicating, sharing information, and learning from every encounter. Each successful defense was immediately broadcast to millions of other humans who began copying and improving the techniques. In Seoul, former Special Forces soldier Ji-won studied every video and report with the focused attention that had kept him alive during 20 years of military service. His combat experience taught him to analyze enemy capabilities and develop countermeasures quickly. The alien hunters showed advanced technology, but followed predictable behavior patterns that could be exploited. Ji-won began reaching out to other military veterans, police officers, and anyone with tactical training. Within days, he had assembled a network of skilled fighters who understood how to coordinate defensive operations. They shared information through encrypted channels and developed standardized responses to different types of alien encounters. At his university laboratory, engineering student Hyun-woo worked through the night analyzing electromagnetic readings his equipment had detected around alien activity sites. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human technology, but they followed consistent patterns that suggested specific power sources and weapon configurations. If he could understand how alien equipment functioned, he might be able to develop jamming devices or other countermeasures. Hyun-woo contacted electronics experts at other universities and technology companies, creating a research network focused entirely on reverse engineering alien technology from sensor data and recovered fragments. Veterinarian So-young had been treating wounded animals brought in by frightened farmers for 3 weeks. The injury patterns were impossible by earthly standards, but showed consistent characteristics across all victims. Something was using directed energy weapons with specific power settings and targeting protocols. She began collecting tissue samples from every wounded animal and sharing her findings with medical researchers worldwide. The alien weapons left distinctive damage patterns that revealed information about the creatures using them. If humans could understand alien biology and technology, they could develop more effective weapons and defenses. Local Sheriff Dong-hyuk coordinated with law enforcement agencies across the region, building a comprehensive database of every alien, sighting, and encounter. The creatures were following predictable hunting patterns, moving through territories in systematic sweeps that could be mapped and anticipated. His police network began sharing information with military units and government agencies, creating an intelligence system that could track alien movements in real time. If humans could predict where the creatures would strike next, they could set traps instead of waiting to be hunted. These four individuals had never met before the alien invasion began, but they quickly found each other through online communications and began working together. What the alien hunters had dismissed as primitive tool use was actually humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage, the ability to coordinate across unlimited distances and share knowledge instantly. Ji-won established himself as tactical coordinator for their growing resistance network. His military experience provided the framework for organized opposition to the alien threat. Within a week, he had contacted militia groups, hunting clubs, and survival communities across Korea and beyond. Every group that knew how to use weapons and work as a team became part of his expanding organization. Hyunwoo made the breakthrough that changed everything when he successfully jammed alien equipment using modified human electronics. The energy signatures he had been tracking could be disrupted by specific radio frequencies that interfered with alien power regulation systems. The technology was crude compared to galactic standards, but it exploited design flaws that the original creators had never considered. More importantly, he developed manufacturing instructions that could produce jamming devices using standard human industrial equipment. Within days, factories across Korea were producing thousands of these devices. Every human defender would soon carry weapons that could neutralize alien technological advantages. So-young's veterinary knowledge proved invaluable when she analyzed tissue samples from the wounded shapeshifter Kriksoth had left behind after escaping Deho's rockslide trap. The alien biology revealed specific vulnerabilities to certain sound frequencies and chemical compounds that existed in common Earth plants. She worked with pharmaceutical companies to develop tranquilizer compounds that would be harmless to humans, but lethal to alien nervous systems. The biological weapons could be delivered through conventional means like dart guns or even crop-dusting aircraft. Dong-hyuk used his law enforcement connections to coordinate with national military forces and intelligence agencies. The alien threat was being officially recognized at the highest levels of government. Resources that had never been available to civilian defenders were now being deployed to support the resistance network. Commander Thexval monitored human communications from his mountain base with growing alarm. His advanced scanning equipment could intercept most of their electronic transmissions, and what he discovered violated everything he understood about prey species behavior. The humans were not just sharing defensive information, they were actively hunting his team, coordinating attacks across multiple locations simultaneously. Worse, they were learning from every encounter at a rate that seemed impossible for biological intelligences operating without central command computers. His own species had evolved as individual hunters who worked in small groups for specific missions. The concept of millions of creatures sharing tactical information in real time was beyond his previous experience. How could any biological species coordinate such complex group behavior without technological enhancement? The answer became clear when he observed how human children were being integrated into the defensive network. Young Taemin had become famous for his early warning system, and other children were copying his techniques in their own communities. Schools were teaching students how to detect alien presence and communicate threats to adult defenders. Every human child was learning to fight alien invaders as part of their basic education. The species was not just defending itself in the present, but ensuring that future generations would be even more effective against extraterrestrial threats. They were evolving their defensive capabilities in real time through cultural transmission. Venom I. Zelen reported similar observations from her coastal hunting grounds. Human fishing fleets had begun working together to patrol larger areas of ocean, using coordinated sonar networks to detect her underwater movements. When she attempted to attack isolated vessels, she found them protected by groups of armed boats that responded within minutes. The humans had converted their entire transportation infrastructure into a weapon system. Ships, aircraft, and ground vehicles all carried detection equipment and communication devices that could instantly alert defensive forces. No alien movement went unobserved or unreported. The surviving alien hunters faced a choice that no Void Stalker team had ever confronted before. They could continue hunting and face increasingly effective human resistance, or they could retreat and admit failure to the Galactic Federation. Neither option was acceptable to predators who had built their reputations on never backing down from any prey species. Commander Thexval made the decision that would seal his team's fate. Instead of changing tactics or retreating, he chose to escalate the conflict. If individual humans were dangerous when working together, he would force them to fight as isolated individuals by attacking their communication networks and population centers. This strategy had succeeded on other worlds, where intelligent prey species had attempted coordinated resistance. Cut off from group support systems, most creatures reverted to individual survival behavior and became easy targets for superior predators. But Earth was different from other worlds in ways the aliens still failed to understand. Humans had evolved as persistence hunters who never gave up once they identified a threat. More importantly, they had developed redundant systems that maintained group coordination even under the most severe attacks. When the aliens began their assault on human infrastructure, they discovered that their prey had backup systems for every critical function. Communication networks that should have been crippled continued operating through alternative channels. Population centers that should have been isolated maintained contact through emergency protocols developed over decades of disaster preparedness. The human pack behavior that the aliens had underestimated was about to demonstrate itself on a... The terrible truth came to Commander Thexval as he watched recordings of human combat operations from his hidden mountain base. For 4 weeks, his elite hunting team had been systematically outmaneuvered by creatures that should have been helpless prey. Every technological advantage the Void Stalkers possessed had been countered by human adaptations that appeared to develop overnight. As he studied footage of human defensive tactics, the alien commander finally understood what his team was really fighting. These bipedal mammals were not simply tool users hiding behind artificial advantages. They were the result of millions of years of evolution that had created the galaxy's most efficient killing machine. Humans did not need claws because they could turn anything into a weapon. They did not need thick hide because they could create armor superior to any biological protection. Most terrifying of all, they did not need individual strength because they functioned as a single organism with billions of specialized parts, working together. Veterinarian Soyoung made the discovery that confirmed humanity's true nature when she completed her analysis of alien tissue samples. Working with biologists from universities around the world, she proved that alien evolution followed completely different principles than Earth life forms. The creatures had developed in environments where individual superiority determined survival. They possessed no experience fighting opponents that became stronger through cooperation. Their entire biology was designed for personal dominance rather than group coordination. The implications were staggering. Every alien weapon and defensive system assumed that enemies would act as separate individuals competing for resources. Their tactics expected prey species to scatter and flee when confronted with superior force. They had no defenses against creatures that became more dangerous when threatened as a group. Engineering student Hyunwoo proved this theory by successfully reverse engineering alien technology recovered from multiple encounter sites. The energy weapons were incredibly sophisticated, but designed according to principles that assumed individual combat between isolated opponents. Working with industrial engineers and weapons manufacturers, Hyunwoo developed countermeasures that exploited fundamental flaws in alien design philosophy. The creatures had created perfect tools for dominating other individuals, but had no protection against coordinated attacks from multiple directions. His manufacturing network had produced over 50,000 jamming devices that could disrupt alien equipment by overloading their power regulation systems. The technology was crude compared to galactic engineering standards, but it attacked weaknesses that alien designers had never considered possible. Young Taman demonstrated that human adaptation worked regardless of age or training when he coordinated the elimination of Venom-I Zelen. The serpentine hunter had returned to coastal waters after recovering from her encounter with marine biologist Mira, confident that her superior underwater abilities would allow her to hunt without human interference. Instead, she discovered that the humans had turned the entire ocean into a carefully planned trap. Taman's network of communication devices and early warning systems had been expanded to cover hundreds of kilometers of coastline. Every fishing boat, naval vessel, and research station was connected to a real-time tracking system that could monitor alien movements across vast underwater areas. When Venom-I Zelen attacked a cargo ship near Busan, she found herself surrounded by coordinated forces that had been waiting for exactly this opportunity. Depth charges guided by sonar tracking forced her toward predetermined kill zones where explosive devices had been positioned based on computer models of her likely escape routes. The alien hunter died not from superior technology or overwhelming firepower, but from human persistence and mathematical precision. Every aspect of the engagement had been calculated in advance based on detailed observation of her previous behavior patterns. She had been outthought and outplanned by prey that refused to act like prey animals. Sheriff Dong-yuk coordinated the expansion of anti-alien operations to continental scale. Military forces that had initially dismissed civilian reports of extraterrestrial encounters now recognized that the human population had been conducting successful warfare against technologically superior enemies for over a month. The integration of civilian and military capabilities created a defensive network that covered multiple countries. Every human settlement became a sensor station capable of detecting alien presence through various means. Every communication device became part of a command system that could coordinate responses across unlimited distances within minutes. Former Special Forces soldier Jawan led the ground operations that finally eliminated the wounded shapeshifter Crixoth. The alien had survived Daho's rock slide trap, but remained buried beneath tons of stone in the mountain cave system. His shape-shifting abilities allowed him to slowly work free from the debris, but the process took weeks and left him severely weakened. Jiwan's team located the alien using seismic sensors that detected movement beneath the collapsed rocks. Instead of attempting to dig him out for direct combat, they applied human problem-solving techniques that no alien hunter could have anticipated. They filled the entire cave system with quick-setting concrete. The shapeshifter's ability to change form became completely useless when surrounded by hardening cement that flowed into every possible space. Crixoth died slowly as the concrete solidified around him, unable to escape or transform his way to freedom. His death proved that human engineering could overcome any biological advantage when applied with sufficient intelligence and patience. Commander Thexval found himself alone, facing an entire planet that had declared total war on his species. His advanced scanning equipment revealed the scope of human defensive preparations, and the information filled him with emotions he had never experienced before. Genuine terror and the certain knowledge of approaching death. Millions of humans were actively searching for his location using detection methods that his technology could barely counter. Every electronic device on the planet had been converted into a sensor capable of identifying alien energy signatures. Communication networks that he could not jam or intercept coordinated search operations across every possible hiding place. The humans were not just defending their territory from invasion, they were actively seeking to eliminate every trace of alien presence from their world. Their behavior showed none of the mercy or negotiation instincts that marked civilized species throughout the galaxy. They had decided that alien hunters needed to die, and they would continue hunting until that objective was completely achieved. There would be no surrender, no bargaining, and no escape. The humans had identified a threat to their survival and would eliminate it with the same efficiency they brought to every other problem. Marine biologist Mira coordinated oceanic search, operations that prevented any possibility of escape through Earth's water systems. Every submarine, research vessel, and satellite monitoring system had been repurposed to detect alien movement in or around the oceans. If Commander Thexval attempted to reach his concealed spacecraft, human forces would intercept him long before he could achieve orbit. Park Ranger Deho led mountain search teams that systematically eliminated every possible hiding place in the Korean highlands. His 15 years of terrain experience had been multiplied by thousands of other humans with similar expertise across the region. No cave, forest, or rock formation remained unchecked by human search operations. The alien commander realized that he was not facing individual humans or even organized military units. He was fighting the entire human species operating as a single, distributed intelligence with billions of specialized components. Every person on the planet had become part of a hunting pack dedicated to his elimination. This revelation explained why human civilization had never been conquered by natural predators. Despite lacking obvious physical advantages, any serious threat to human survival triggered a species-wide response that continued until the threat was completely eliminated. They were not just intelligent tool users competing for resources. They were a collective apex predator that had evolved to destroy anything that challenged their dominance of Earth. Other species adapted to their environment. Humans adapted their environment to themselves and eliminated anything that interfered with that process. Commander Thexval began recording his final message to the Galactic Federation as human search teams systematically closed in on his position. His transmission would serve as a warning to other hunter clans about the true nature of Earth's dominant life form. The hunt was almost finished, and the galaxy's most feared predators had learned what it meant to become prey animals themselves. Commander Thexval pressed himself against the back wall of a narrow cave hidden behind a mountain waterfall. His forearms shook with exhaustion and fear as he completed what would be his final transmission to the Galactic Federation. 1 month ago, he had been the most feared hunter in known space. Now he was dying prey, cornered by creatures he had dismissed as harmless mammals. The cave entrance was concealed behind falling water, but he knew the hiding place would not protect him much longer. Human search teams had developed scanning techniques that could detect alien life signs through solid rock. Their modified equipment tracked the energy signatures his body produced simply by being alive. His message began with Earth's coordinates and a warning that would save countless alien lives. Emergency classification change required. Species designation human. Threat level absolute maximum. Recommend permanent quarantine of entire solar system. Through gaps in the waterfall, he could see lights moving across the valley below. Thousands of humans were participating in the final search operation using communication methods that his advanced technology could not intercept or jam. They moved with coordination that reminded him of insect swarms, but with individual intelligence that made them infinitely more dangerous. What terrified him most was their complete silence. Throughout his career hunting across hundreds of worlds, dangerous predators had announced themselves with displays of strength, territorial markings, or threatening sounds. They wanted enemies to know they were coming. Humans made no such announcements. They simply identified problems and eliminated them with efficient precision. Park Ranger Deho led the mountain search team that was systematically checking every cave system in the area. His knowledge of local terrain had been enhanced by satellite imaging, geological surveys, and ground-penetrating radar that revealed hidden spaces no individual human could have discovered alone. The alien commander's hiding place had been identified 6 hours ago, but the humans were taking time to ensure he could not escape through alternative routes. They showed no impatience or bloodlust, only the calm determination of creatures that had evolved to outlast any opponent. Search teams were not rushing toward their target with the aggressive behavior HFY expected from pursuing predators. Instead, they moved with the patience of hunters that had unlimited time and resources. They would wait as long as necessary to guarantee success. Engineering student Hyun Woo had positioned jamming devices around the entire mountain that would prevent alien technology from functioning properly. The commander's energy weapons, personal shields, and communication equipment would fail completely when he attempted to use them. His technological advantages were being systematically removed before the final confrontation. The jamming field also prevented any signal from reaching the alien spacecraft hidden elsewhere in the mountains. If Commander HFY had planned to call for evacuation or orbital bombardment, those options no longer existed. The humans had cut him off from all external support systems. Veterinarian So Young waited with medical teams prepared to treat human injuries and study alien biology. Her analysis had revealed that the creatures could survive massive trauma but were vulnerable to specific toxins that existed in common earth plants. Tranquilizer compounds harmless to humans would paralyze alien nervous systems within seconds. The medical preparations showed how completely the humans understood their enemy. They were not planning a desperate battle against superior opponents. They were conducting a carefully planned execution based on detailed knowledge of alien weaknesses and capabilities. Former Special Forces soldier Ji-won coordinated tactical teams that would capture or eliminate the alien commander. His military training had been supplemented by weeks of studying alien behavior patterns and combat techniques. The humans knew exactly how their enemy would react to different situations and had prepared responses for every possible action. Sheriff Dong-hyuk maintained communication between civilian and military forces to ensure perfect coordination throughout the operation. Every human participant understood their role and knew how their actions contributed to the overall mission. Individual failure was impossible when thousands of people worked toward the same objective. Young Taemin monitored early warning systems that would detect any attempt by the alien to escape through alternative routes. His network of simple devices had grown to cover hundreds of square kilometers, creating a detection grid that no stealth technology could penetrate entirely. The boy's contribution proved that human capability was not limited by age, training, or equipment. Any human could become part of the species-wide defense network regardless of their individual limitations. The aliens faced not just trained soldiers, but an entire population that included children, elderly people, and civilians, with no combat experience. As darkness fell over the Korean mountains, human search teams began their final approach. They moved without artificial lights or electronic communication, using hand signals and predetermined coordination to surround the alien commander's hiding place. Their silence was not the result of special training, but the natural behavior of apex predators closing in on cornered prey. Commander HFY detected the approaching humans through his failing scanning equipment and realized that escape was completely impossible. Every route away from the cave was blocked by coordinated teams that knew exactly where he was located. The waterfall that concealed his hiding place had become a death trap with only one exit. He attempted to activate his personal energy shields, but discovered that human jamming devices had disrupted his equipment's power systems completely. The technology that had made him invincible against other prey species was now useless against enemies that fought with intelligence instead of raw force. His energy weapons were similarly affected by the electromagnetic interference. The precision instruments that could slice through starship armor now produced only weak sparks that barely illuminated the cave walls. The humans had neutralized his technological advantages without engaging in direct combat. For the first time in his hunting career, Commander HFY considered attempting surrender. Other intelligent species had accepted defeat when faced with superior opponents, negotiating for their lives by offering valuable information, technology, or resources. Perhaps these humans would show similar mercy if he demonstrated complete submission. The alien commander emerged from his cave with all four arms raised in the universal gesture of peaceful surrender. His scanning equipment detected dozens of humans positioned around the waterfall area, but none of them revealed themselves or responded to his peaceful intentions. They waited in absolute silence, watching him with the patience of creatures that had already decided his fate. He attempted to communicate using standard galactic languages that most civilized species understood throughout known space. He offered technological knowledge, star charts, information about other worlds, and anything else that might have value in exchange for his life. His voice echoed off the mountain walls, but the humans made no response to his desperate bargaining attempts. The silence stretched on for long minutes until Commander Thexval finally understood what he was truly facing. These creatures did not want his knowledge, his technology, his surrender, or anything else he could offer. They had identified him as a threat to their survival, and threats were eliminated regardless of any potential value they might possess. Marine biologist Mira stepped out of the shadows first, holding a weapon that combined human engineering with alien technology recovered from previous encounters. The device was crude compared to galactic standards, but had been specifically designed for its intended purpose. Behind her, other humans emerged from concealment positions, all carrying similar hybrid weapons. The alien commander realized that these were not primitive creatures hiding behind borrowed technology. They were apex predators that had improved his own technological advantages and turned them against him. Every weapon they carried incorporated human innovations that enhanced the original alien designs. Park Ranger Deho spoke the only words that would be addressed to the alien commander during the entire encounter. "You came to our world to hunt us. Now you understand what it feels like to be hunted." The humans opened fire simultaneously, using weapons that had been specifically designed to penetrate alien armor and disrupt alien biology. Commander Thexval died instantly, his body destroyed by energy beams that incorporated human modifications to his own technology. There were no victory celebrations, no trophy-taking ceremonies, and no ritual honors for the defeated enemy. The humans examined the alien corpse with scientific interest, documented the encounter for future reference, and began planning recovery operations for the hidden spacecraft. Young Taman asked the question that summarized humanity's approach to the alien threat. "Do you think more of them will come here?" The answer would determine whether Earth's defensive preparations needed to be expanded beyond the solar system. If other alien hunters existed in the galaxy, they would eventually learn about the fate of the Void Stalkers. The humans would be ready for them. Commander Thexval's final transmission had been completed before the jamming field was fully activated.